Good evening, everyone, and welcome. We got Tom and Seth and Jeff here with you with here tonight for the J3 906 podcast. I'll get that right in a minute. And we
want to start over?
Yeah, let me go back to the thing. Hold on, I'm going to bring that video. Yeah. Oh, so we are here continuing on with the Curse of Oak Island series, and wow, another good episode last night. I thought
awesome episode.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm loving it. I'm tell you what. And we had one of our favorite guys out there was in the war room again. That was a good one. Yeah, really happy to see that. Anyway, I hope you guys are all having a wonderful evening tonight. I know we are, and we are ready to go. One thing I wanted to talk about just a little bit before we get started is we have a giveaway tonight again, as we have been just about every episode so far. And this particular giveaway is this right here. It is the Jerusalem Files, The Secret Journey of the Menorah to Oak Island with Corjan Mol and Christopher Morford, who wrote this book. It is wonderful. I got it right here. Yeah. Man, I'll tell you what, a great book. Yeah.
Can't go home without it.
I've actually read it through a time and a half now.
Nice.
I cheated because I had an audiobook. I was on a plane flying all the way to California and back this weekend, and so I had lots of time to get this. Yeah, Linda says, did all of you Aussies see that the pre-order for this book? She posted it in our Facebook group page. So yeah, that's our giveaway tonight. Is this book really, really good?
Yeah, yeah.
And,
I'm like a third into it, and I'm loving the way they start out and take you through the history. It's really fun. I'm enjoying it.
And it takes you through their journey of discovering the history too, which is really good.
Yep.
It's kind of like watching the Curse of Oak Island because you're going to get their ups and their downs. So.
Yeah, exactly.
This book and this episode that we're about to talk about, it really is feeling like, I mean, for me, I was a kid when the Goonies was a big movie. So for me, it's like we're on the Goonie type treasure hunt. And we're really living it out through these authors and through the guys on the island.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. This is really good. And I tell you, I was very impressed. One of the things I will say about the book really quick before we get started is that I was expecting it at first to be a little bit of a more of a documentary style, giving us the information, which I was thinking, oh boy, this is going to be, sometimes those are hard to get through, a documentary. It's because they just keep throwing so much information at you. But this one was a story. It was their journey and the documentary and the information, the research and everything in that story. So it was like a story with all the facts and figures and everything in it. So it was, and the narrator was awesome. The guy that narrated it in the audiobook, really, really good. And I
was wondering how the narration was.
Yeah, a guy from England. I forgot his name now. It's like I'd have to look it up on my phone here.
Oh,
but
nice.
He did a fantastic job. But some of the words and the names, I mean, that he was saying, he was saying it in the way that the English would say it. And I'm like, okay, that's not the way I would have said it at all. But okay, I'm going with what you have because you're from over there. So. Sacre, the sacre. So he did.
Not even going to try them. Nope.
Yeah. So, but yeah, very good book. And I'll give a little description of how you go about winning that or being eligible to win. I'll give you a little description of that when we get to it later in the show. But the Jerusalem Files. And that's who is always on the show is Christopher Morford tonight. Or last night. So good stuff. All right. Well, thank you folks for being here. If you don't if you like the content of our show, give us a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. That really helps us out a lot. We appreciate that very, very much. And if you'd like to help support the show, there's Gretchen. Hi, Gretchen.
Hey, Gretchen.
So there's a lot of different ways you can help support the show. It's all down in the description. You can buy one of these nice J-Free, it's kind of hard to see, isn't it? J-Free 906 travel mugs, tumblers. You can get those from Jess Grollo over at blue6laser.com. Hats, t-shirts, we got all kinds of stuff like that at J-Free. Yeah, there's one of the hats right there. And there's a shirt right there. Thank you, guys. Yeah. Oh,
the pay's not that great, folk, but the perks are good.
Yeah, the clock up there above him. He's got the clock on the wall. I've got one right here. Yeah. So anyway, I know Seth hasn't got one of those clocks yet. I have to get you one.
They're cool.
Yeah, there. Yeah. Oh, dot to dot. Yeah, I was gonna dot to dot's here with us tonight too. He's up in the chat. Thank you very much. I've actually been talking with Michael a little bit. We've been kind of exchanging some stuff. And let me tell you, dot to dot, those guys have a great YouTube channel as well. Where they cover some really good information. You should check that out when you get a chance. Just go to YouTube and just put in dot to dot. Don't do it now. Do it when we're done. You can go over there and check it out. But they really break down some very good stuff. They put it and make it so that even people like I can understand. So really appreciate those guys and their site over there. So welcome, Michael. All right. So we're going to get started with this. So we have season 11, episode number 15, On Target. On Target. So I thought this was a really good episode, as we mentioned there, because it was packed full of all kinds of interesting information. And we're going to dissect that a little bit as we go along. So Curse of Oak Island. Yeah. And then I put in, there we go. I love these shots. Look at that beautiful water there. So crystal clear. And Davy Crockett. Oh my gosh. I want to be the first. I want to be the first one to be lowered into the tunnel. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Right. I'm hoping that at the end of this, when they finally get the who, what, why, where, and when, and how all figured out, and they turn this place into a resort of sorts, that they open up so that people can take a tour down into the money pit and see where the vault was with all the treasure. Or what will they find? Religious artifacts, maybe? So yeah, I do too. I want to be the one to go down. Thank you, man, Davey. I appreciate that very, very much, sir. All right. So the guys start off in the swamp this time, which was really cool. The swamp, I tell you, this thing, Marty talked so long about how he just hated the swamp. And he mentioned why in the show last night remember back in the early seasons, well, season 1, season 2, whenever they went out in the swamp, they had to put down plywood and they had to stand on the plywood. And you seen Rick jumping off in with his clothes on into the muck. It was awful.
And it was buggy and stunk.
So, I can understand why he would hate it so much. And there's a lot of swamps in the UP of Michigan. Believe me, I know. I'm from there. And I know there's a lot of swamps and there's a lot of mosquitoes. And they are kind of nasty. But this swamp, like they have said on the show, that the swamp has continued to yield find after find after find. And they're significant finds. They're not just a piece of wood yes, they do get a piece of wood and a piece of metal or a spike or a ring bolt or things like that once in a while. But these stone roads and stuff, I mean, what do you guys make of that yourself?
The stone roads for me is what does it.
Yeah. After the stone road. Yeah. After that, I feel like there's no argument that there's answers in the swamp. And Marty, I think was singularly focused on the money pit. We know the treasure's there. Let's go get it and get out of here. Now he's finally on board with, Rick's thinking. Like last night, Rick said, there's no answering this story without figuring out the swamp. It is an integral part.
How many years did Marty say, look at Rick and go, can we put an X through the swamp now?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. And Rick kept going, no,
we're not done there.
No, we're not done. Yeah, exactly. We are not done. And it has turned out again and again and again to show us so many different things. And we thought, the stone road, the stone platform, the ramp that was on the north side of Nolan's Peninsula, the eye of the swamp, just to name a few of the things that they found. And now this right here, this, folks, is significant. This stone, this boulder, cone-shaped, where have we heard that before? And this little path that is leading up to it that you see right here.
Yep.
Oops. There we go. You see this little path right here. I mean, this right here, this is significant. I'm telling you.
Could it be the delivery mechanism? Is how they slid it down a ramp to put it there?
My vote is yes. Exactly. I think
put
that's
log rollers and let gravity work its course.
Yep. Now here's a look at all the different boulders that make up Nolan's cross, at least 5 of them. And you see how they're all relatively cone shaped. This one up here on the top right, a little bit funky there. And there has been talk about how they have maybe fallen over, when they were standing up and have fallen over. But look at those things. They're huge. And that is in itself very significant. And I like what, well, we'll get to that in a minute, what Christopher said about those things. But here's another look at the stone road. And again, and you heard Ian Spooner when they called Ian out. These rocks were placed there by human hands, and like Tom said, why else would they be there? Can anybody in the chat, can you guys come up with another reason besides putting that stone there, that boulder there, that this small little path leading down to the boulder would have been there? Why else would they have done it?
Yeah, and Ian said the boulder, he didn't think the boulder came from the beach. Most likely came from an excavation, probably, money pit.
The rocks and stuff, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I thought he said the boulder itself.
No, he was talking about the rocks that were making up their
just all around it.
When he was holding the rocks up, they were all sharp edged. If they were beach rocks, they'd be smoother from being beat back and forth by the waves.
Okay.
Yeah. If you go along your shoreline, those rocks are typically, I mean, they can still be jagged, but they wouldn't be as jagged as inline.
Mm-hmm. Yep. The stones were chipped, not rounded. Right. Beach rocks, thank you, David. Beach rocks are going to be very smooth because of the battering of the sand and the ocean water all the time. And Tom, you've seen them. Anybody that hangs around by the beach, you've seen those. These were not that. And you can see in the picture there that most of them are very jagged. So, yeah. And Karen Fubbo just made a good point about being a believer in Zena's map, because I am too. And I'm going to show you a picture that I've got here. Here's another look at it. Look at that road. I mean, what's it leading to? It's almost a triangle leading right down to the boulder. I mean,
all these rock structures just goes to the fact that we know that it's a multi-generational, or whatever you want to call it, use of that area. Because if you put one crew in there, they're just not going to go in and build all these different structures at one time. Right. They were all put there at different times for different reasons.
Yep. Exactly right. Yeah. Ian said it was definitely human-made structure. And then the grade elevation, it appears to be a ramp. So you can see it actually did go downhill a little bit, leading right down. And also, if you remember, that Billy Gerhardt had said when he had the long reach excavator going and he grabbed hold of the other side of this boulder, he could actually move it a little bit. If it was a boulder that was sunk into the actual base of the swamp, I don't think he's going to be able to move it very easily.
No. Well, I mean, good example. Have you ever had your foot stuck in the mud?
Yeah. Yes.
Right? It's not coming out.
Yeah. No, it's not. Yeah. Good. Very good point. So, you when you look at it, you put all that together, that this thing had to have been placed there by humans.
Yeah. And as somebody said, the bigger rocks on the outside of that little ramp would be put there as your support rocks for the smaller rocks in the middle.
Yeah, to keep them in place. Exactly. So yeah, and again, like I said, this swamp just keeps yielding more and more and more information. Now, if we can get this dated in some way, the road to the boulder was needed to move the boulder. Exactly, Jerry. Exactly right. In my opinion, I think you're exactly right. Yep. Because why else would it be there? So go ahead.
So I was like, it's definitely was an ornamental or site versus actually being used. Because if Billy was able to move it, then it's not something that's going to be used to move treasure. Because I always thought anchor points could actually be used as a literal anchor point. I don't know if that was silly of me to think that.
No, they can be.
But yeah, so the fact that Billy, like you were pointing out, Jeff, the fact that he could move it around, obviously they weren't using it as for part of unloading. It was there for I don't know, site.
Well,
it was there for a purpose, obviously.
But keep in mind, he's got the weight of a 25-ton excavator pushing that thing around.
That's a good point.
But still, I'm glad you brought that up. That's a very good point, Seth, because, if you wanted to tie onto a ship or something, and a ship is going to be I don't think you're going to get a ship that close in, but you're going to get smaller boats. They're going to haul in some sort of, treasure or things you want to unload, barrels of things or whatnot. Yep. Then yes, you would
an anchor point for block and tackle.
A good anchor point for such a thing. But if that thing can be moved around that easily, Tom, it's not. You're right. It's not that easily. He's got a pretty strong excavator.
Got a 25-ton excavator pushing.
Yeah, right. But still, I see your point, Seth, because I think you're right. It was there to mark a place.
Yeah.
And you look at remember what? Well, and again, Christopher said later on when he was in there, when they were talking about Cone C, which is actually on the beach over at Nolan's property and Nolan's beach over there, that one could easily be seen by boat. And I think this one at one time probably could too. When the sea levels were a little bit lower and the swamp wasn't full of swamp water.
And there was no road around the island.
Yeah. But somebody had made a comment about Zena's map there, and I think you're right. We'll get to that in just a little bit because I agree. I think it's the anchor from Zena's map. Another quick picture. It shows kind of where they moved up to. So later in the show, the guys were working in the swamp, and it rained. You heard about the heavy rains that came, and they actually ended up moving up a little bit closer towards Nolan's Peninsula. And I don't know what happened to my. There it is. Yeah, there we go. So they were working down in this area down here, and then they had to move up here. Now here's Nolan's Peninsula right there. So they moved up a little bit closer to Nolan's Peninsula.
They made a comment when Billy moved on the day 2 was because of the heavy rain overnight.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. So so they had to take and shift up a little bit and continue moving, and then they were finding those stumps down there.
Big ones.
Big stumps. And the one that they found, I didn't grab a picture of, but the one they found looked like it had been, I think Gary was the one, he was checking out the top of it there, and he said it looked like it had been chopped down with an axe.
Yeah, they suggested perhaps, timbers used to line the money pit, maybe. If they get a date on this and it lines up with everything else, which I feel like that's kind of where the narration of the story, because we'll kind of complain about, or not complain, but we'll notice the different timelines within one episode presented to us as one thing. It's to fit kind of what they're discovering. So seems like I think this is going to have a connection to the money pit.
Do you guys think there was an actual forest down there? Like
yes.
they're finding peat moss. Right? How many forests do you see growing in peat moss?
Well,
okay, now here's my other point.
Go ahead.
If you're going to create a stone road that runs up over a hill, you're going to have to chop down a few trees and get rid of the stumps. What are you going to do with the stumps? The easiest thing to do with a stump is take it downhill, throw it into a swamp or a bog.
That's very true. Yeah.
And you got the oxen to do it.
Yeah, that's true. They do. They could pull them out with that. Yeah.
So to me, I'm pretty sure they didn't blow in a storm because there's more than one. So
correct.
The old blown in the storm theory doesn't work.
Yep.
But as to whether there was a forest down there, I know certain types of trees do grow in boggy areas. But I mean, I don't know. I'd love to see the dates on them. Yeah,
exactly. I would too. I'd like to see that myself.
Yeah, you're making me doubt my enthusiastic yes, Tom. I still think it was a forest, but you're getting me with the logic. It might not be.
It could be. I mean, it could have been a forest there before the water came up and the bog covered the forest, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Which came first, the chicken or the egg?
How would they have moved them? Like Tom said, probably with the oxen. If they needed it out of where it was to make a path or something,
that's how they broke the chain.
Oh,
that they left behind.
Tom is on a roll. He's tying all these loose ends together. I am going to put up a comment here real quick, Linda, from David. And this one, he said, Peter Amundsen talked about the Tree of Life, Kabbalah diagram. How does the boulder in the swamp fit with Peter's diagram? And I'm going to say it doesn't. I think it's too far away. It's too far away to be part of it. Now, I could be proven wrong on that, but based upon what I've seen of the Tree of Life, it's outside of the diagram. And I made a little diagram. I kind of drew over the Nolan's Cross last week. It's too far south. I think it's too far south. So I just wanted to answer your question there and the best I could with what I know. And I could, like I said, I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure that that's not part of it. But I think and we're going to show Zena's map here in a little bit. And Zane out there, he's in the chat tonight. Yeah, I just posted a picture on Discord, updated. Okay, good. I'll have to check that out.
I was going to ask, what does Zane think? Because
Yeah,
I think it's a little too far out, but what does Zane think?
Did anybody else notice, and I picked up on it last night, Rick referred to the swamp as being a deep water cove. You ever heard him referred to as being deep water before?
I have not.
Mm-mm.
That was you're right. I did. Now that you mentioned that, I do remember him saying that.
So I always thought the opinion was it was shallow, that you need a barge or something like that to get in there, and that the speculation was that they would have had to have somehow magically floated a ship in there to disassemble it. Could be he just misspoke, but that's what he said.
Yeah.
A deep water cove, you're not going to find a peat bog, I wouldn't think.
Or a forest, right?
Or a forest. Well, I was going to say about the peat.
On the edge, though, he could.
Something that I've seen, and here, I'm just going to throw this out there for a moment, see how it sticks to the wall. Up in Michigan, and I've seen it in Nova Scotia as well, to a degree. When you're in the woods and you have, the swamps and the cedars and everything else out there, everything in that forest gets layered with a mat. You can actually like grab a hold of it and peel it up.
Moss.
It's like a thick carpet of this matting on top of the dirt. When that is soaked over years and years and years with dirt and mud and everything, does that become peat? I don't know.
Sure.
I just was wondering about that, because if it does, and maybe somebody can help me if you know in the chat.
It would definitely be the food for peat moss because it would be damp.
Right. So maybe that would go back to what Seth was saying earlier about this being partly a forest with that layer of that carpet layer on there, then going down and becoming, I don't know. Again, I'm just, okay. Let me take a look at that.
Yeah, picture there.
Yeah. Someone in the chat said on Zena's map, isn't it called the basin? Which is that where the basin is? I never really thought what the basin would be.
Boy, I don't know. I think so.
Look at the map.
I recall seeing basin written on our map. I can't remember where it was.
Right. Yeah, I can't remember where that was at.
Right.
I mean, I think the swamp is where it's at. I think that's the eye is hiding something.
Yeah, I know. The eye keeps coming back, doesn't it? I got a picture here of, whoops, boy, it's really small. Here we go. I'm making it a little bigger. This is the this is where we got that Tree of Life over everything here, and you can see the Mercy Point, the very outside of it edge, is where the Mercy Point is still quite a ways away from that boulder. So I just wanted to point that out too. So we do have that little picture there of the Tree of Life. So interesting. That's why I think it's not, and I go back to saying it's more like Zena's map and the anchor that's on Zena's map, in at least in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah, she refers to two anchors on her map. So
yeah, and we know where there was one up on the north side, between Smith's Cove and Nolan's. I'm going to call it Nolan's Cove.
Yep.
So, all right. So let's see here. Back to my regular pictures. Yeah. So, here it is. I grabbed this shot here. This is the again the swamp. I just love these aerial pictures of the swamp because you can really kind of get an idea of what's going on, and you see where they're working and they're pulling all that stuff out. This is when they moved up. That boulder is right here, and the little stone road is leading up to it is right here. The stone road right there. Here's our regular stone road over here, And then now they're working way up here. And eventually, Billy Gerhardt's going to be digging in this. And if you remember what area that was where the guys from Eagle Canada or, Panther Geoscience, when they were being pushed around in the swamp by Tony Sampson in the inflatable, and they were doing that survey, that's the area that they got that big hit.
Right.
So what's there?
Yeah, and then they didn't dig on it. They dug on the other side of the peninsula, and I remember going, "What are y'all doing? Go!"
Yeah, they were digging over here where the ramp is. And I was like, "Wait!"
I have a question about the peninsula. Maybe y'all remember. So it was Nolan pushed debris and dirt out to create that peninsula. So those trees have grown on that peninsula since then, because those are some decent sized trees.
Yeah, he sure did. He actually, and they've talked about that before. And I think that if you look at somebody was showing me this, and I think it was in Discord the other day, and it was the LiDAR of the island from a drone. And you could see a line that comes down like this all the way down and then out to the end of Nolan's Peninsula. And I think that line was his bulldozer track.
Yeah, Linda just said that was 60 years ago. Okay, so totally enough time for those trees.
Yep.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, and we're going to and then there was a little reference made. If you guys watch the next time on the Curse of Oak Island, there was a little reference made in there about something. And we're going to have to speculate the heck out of this until we find out exactly what they were talking about. Something that matches up. I think I wrote that down what he said. Yeah. Talking about money pit samples. Yeah. We're going to find out what that's all about. So, all right. So next we jump over. We had a lot of exciting stuff in the swamp. We're got yet to come. Now we're going to jump over to the garden shaft. And this is the area where I get really excited as well because of what they're doing and where they are finally getting to at this point in the season. Is that the mortar? I don't know. When they took that boat tour around the island last year, I asked if Tony could push us around in the inflatable. Yeah, I don't think he'd be up for that, but yeah, he definitely pushed those guys around. That was funny but the reason he did that because they needed very true lines. And if they're out there trying to paddle and a little bit of wind and everything, they're going to be all over the place. So him pushing them around was perfect to keep those nice straight lines that they needed. So down in the garden shaft, the guys are you can see them down there. They got that metal, I guess it's called a shoe, and it's this portion right along here. Is the metal you saw them making them up on the top of the top layer surface, and then they bring those
right,
and then they put the shoe down, and then they start digging below it. Then they put the shoe down a little lower, filled in that area with wood, and then the shoe keeps on going, holds it back.
Yeah,
but the tools, and then we see this later in the show too. We see the tools that they were using, the jackhammer, working down there. I just love to watch. I would love to sit there. I would spend most of my day watching the camera, up where Craig was and watching them. But they said the whole bottom of the shaft, they're trying to get the whole bottom down there leveled off at 92 feet.
Yeah.
So that puts them very, very, very close to the target depth of the top of the tunnel that runs
95 feet is where they want to be. So.
Yep. Yeah. Wow. And then guess what? The guys get to go down there. Rick and Marty getting ready to get suited up to head on down and get inside there. Oh, that was just a quick pic of a picture of that muck down there. Once they get done going through it with the jackhammer through the clay, and then they start scooping it, and they scoop it and drag it all over so they can get it over to where the hammer grab can then get it and then bring it up. Rick and Marty get suited up. They're heading over to get dirty. And there's Marty with the jackhammer going. That would be so fun. I mean, I don't, they said that thing weighs like 60 pounds.
60
Yeah,
pounds.
I thought. Yeah, I've never used a jackhammer. Have y'all?
Oh yeah.
I
Yeah,
haven't.
sounds fun.
Not so much.
Oh, that's the mind of a young guy.
Probably not. It's probably not too bad if you've got a spade on the end like that, cutting through mud or clay, whatever they're going through. But if you're going through rock, no, it's not much fun.
Right. I'd rather be in the garden shaft going through muck versus like cement or hard rock for sure. I think. Yeah. Oh, Zane said shakes her elbows out. Yeah, I bet it would.
Yeah. Silver Fox. Did you guys catch that?
Yeah.
Silver
Interesting
Fox
to note around the outside edges of the garden shaft. It looks like a lot of rocks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering, almost stacked, right?
Yeah, but then when they're actually working and removing the bottom of the garden shaft, it's pure clay.
Blue clay?
No rocks in it. Yeah, when you watch them when they're jackhammering down through slicing off the slices, it's just as smooth and shiny as anything. So that leads me to my next speculation. Where did the clay come from?
The swamp.
Was it used for waterproofing for the roof of a chamber?
Or a chamber? Yeah, quite possibly.
Yes, Tom. You're a genius.
Oh, come on. You got to speculate a little bit.
Clay makes a perfect sealant. It really does. And where else are they going to find? They don't have that multi-purpose foam stuff that they
geofoam.
The geofoam. They don't have that to spray in there. They didn't back then. So they had to use what they could find, which was clay. No, they didn't say Sand Dollar Ray. They didn't say it was blue clay, did they? I don't recall them saying that.
No,
it's definitely clay.
That was me.
Here's another shot. You can see that shoe down there a little bit better, and then they're working down below it. And then here, I grabbed this picture. Oh, this one's not as good as the other one.
Chunk of wood.
There was a chunk of wood. Did you guys catch that?
No.
Yeah, when they started, when that guy, he said coming in, and he went in there with that spade like that, and he was starting to pull some of that clay back out of there, and then he got this piece right here, and you can see
the wood.
Yeah.
You can see the wood fiber. Pardon me there. I'm still dealing with a sinus infections, folks. Sorry about that. But you can see some of the wood fiber right there. And I caught that. Quite a few people noticed that in our Discord channel. We were chatting it up last night, watching the show, and everybody was watching it on their own TVs, and then we were chatting during the commercials. But yeah, a lot of people caught that as well in there. But they didn't say anything about it. They just pulled it out of the way and kept on going. So I thought that was pretty interesting. There's another shot of it in that clay and that shoe. You can get a really good look at that shoe that they built down there now to hold everything back. And then they start.
They say each set or shoe was 32 inches, right? Yeah.
Yep, I think so. Yeah, 32 inches. Yep.
So they're only 35 inches away. So if they put that next set down there, they should be able to dig to their heart's content.
Yep, exactly. Oh, K9, you missed a lot. What did I miss? Yeah, you missed a bunch. There's the Silver Fox himself right there. I think that's funny. They got a nickname for him, the Silver Fox and Brother. That's pretty funny. And there he is, looking down into that hole. They got called out later on so they could come and take a look at this because they told him, and Rick said, "You can't keep me away." When they said, "Do you want us to call you?" When and they dug down. Obviously, they must have put a rod down there, is what I'm thinking. They said put a rod down there, and they were hitting wood. And then they decided at that point to go down and actually dig. Use the jackhammer. You can see the jackhammer sides, along here, and dig that hole out a little bit more to actually get a look at the wood that's down there.
See how smooth and shiny that is? All that clay going down through there.
Yeah, I was.
And there's not a rock in it.
Now, something that was being said when they were talking about this is that the round logs. Now, I didn't see the round logs. I was looking at this.
Yeah, that looks like a
bad boy right there, and that looks like a beam.
He pointed out the round log, but it was out of the camera sight, sort of
Yeah,
back
it was
right
over
corner.
Here.
Yeah.
And then they speculated about the round logs that were used every 10 feet down the money pit. And I thought, oh, wow, that's interesting. I mean, but think about the beams and stuff. Now, any beams or anything that they made back that long ago had to be made by like a pit saw or that adze
Yep.
to shape it into a beam.
Yep. Hand hewn lumber. Yep.
Hand hewn lumber. Or you would just use logs. You'd work the ends of them and try to maybe flatten them a little, but they're going to be more of a log. But I remember hearing that. And this, I tell you what, folks, this
also, if you were using parts off a ship to line your tunnel with, it'd be timbers.
Bingo.
Wasn't the 7 foot tall one they pulled out rounded?
That was round.
It was
the vertical one. Yeah.
Yes, it was. And that was the one that they pulled out up on the hillside on the other side of the garden shaft, up where the crane just adjacent to where the crane sits.
Yeah.
They got that 7 foot long vertical post. That thing hit it perfectly. That hit it perfectly. Interesting. Yeah, but like Tom says, look how smooth this is right here. That's all clay. And that would be a great thing to seal it up. Go ahead, Tom.
Still seemed to be a fair amount of water dripping in there last night, didn't there?
Yeah.
Or they were old shots of the inside, one of the two. But
I think the one where it showed it really coming down in there was an old picture.
That was an old one, but yeah.
But it's constantly dripping down in there all the time. And that has to make for a miserable. I mean, I would love to still do it. I'd still do it because I'd be in the money pit. I'd be in the garden shaft, boots underground. But I mean, that would have to be a miserable working conditions to be very in there all the time. Arnie said it looks very wet. Yeah, it would be. Water leaking in all the time. Yeah, it sure was. You remember when he was hitting on it or thumping on it with that crowbar?
The thump. So was it hollow or rotten?
Ooh, good point.
Now, the other thing, too, if it's hollow underneath there, I think I'd be putting some boards across the bottom of that money pit for decking. I don't think I'd be standing right over top of it if he thinks it's hollow underneath it.
That's a very good point.
Have they pulled out rotten wood, Tom?
I don't know.
I don't think so. I think most of the wood they pulled out has been very well preserved. But think about that. When they were tapping on that with that crowbar, I mean, it did sound. He had a couple different spots, and it sounded very thick. And then dum, 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 it was making like a hollow sound. Here I am making it sounds like as if I could do it. But
that's good.
Yeah, it did. And that's a good point, Tom, because, that could cave in and, you'd be down inside that. You'd be down inside that tunnel.
Yeah, well, the good news would be you'd know there was all kinds of air down there. It's not full of water.
Well, I mean, is it or isn't it? I don't know.
I don't know.
If it was full of water, it would have a different sound, wouldn't it?
It might, yeah.
So, and that's something that I wondered about a lot. I mean, I thought, if you drill a hole, and they did drill a hole into it, they got that wood sample out of there. So if you drilled a hole down in there and it was flooded, would then the pressure not push the water up through that hole into the bottom of the garden shaft and start flooding it?
It might, depending on where the water level is and whatever's created that water level down there. Yeah.
That's what bothered me.
We know they're below sea level. Right, because
absolutely.
The garden shaft is about 28 feet above sea level.
Yeah,
and they're down 90, so they're well below sea level.
Yeah, so that really worried me a little bit. I thought about that. I thought, man, oh man. I mean, what happens if that starts to flood?
If it's just a pocket of groundwater, though, it's going to depend again on what type of pressure's behind it.
Correct. Yeah. But I thought
still not something you'd want to find out with 5 or 6 guys down there all trying to get up the same ladder.
Yeah, yeah, especially with Rick. I mean, Marty was complaining that he was tired already. I don't know. And we kind of chuckle about that a little bit. Well, we really have no idea how long they were down there, running the jackhammer. You seen Marty going, oh man, this is hard work. And he was at it, what, 30 seconds? Come on, Marty.
You get 4 or 5 guys and a cameraman or 2 standing down there, and it's hot and muggy and humid. It's going to be hard to breathe.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how much fresh air they're pumping in there.
I think that large gray welded framework that has been asked about will eventually be the support for the bottom of the garden shaft when they start tunneling. I did grab an interesting picture or that I saw on the wall of the Dumas's trailer. That we'll
Yeah, I
get
got that one too. Yeah,
to. You saw it too, huh?
diagram behind them on the
Yeah, on the board back
on the
there.
pegboard. Yeah, or whatever it's called.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I'm always looking for that
Bulletin
kind of
board.
stuff,
Yeah.
especially in there. I'm always looking to see. Last
Mhm.
week, you had Scott and them. I'm looking on the wall to see what it said on the wall, and I couldn't get it. I kept zooming in; it was just blurry. You couldn't read it. But I did capture that one. As a matter of fact, did I pass that already? Oh, I got to go back and look now. I got to go back and look real quick.
The other key fact we learned off the board earlier in the year was what was it? Wednesday was laundry day.
Yeah, it was. It was laundry day. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Here it is, right here. Let's see if I can zoom in on this enough. Yeah. Here, let me show you this one. Check this out, folks. This is something that we hadn't really seen before. I know it gets blurry, and I'm really sorry about that. But check this out right here.
Mm-hmm.
You see what this is right here?
Yep, circular entrance. Yep.
That's when they get down low enough that they can start going horizontally. That's a circle right there.
So they definitely have a plan to address
They've
whatever
planned
issues could arise. I mean,
yeah,
very
they've got it all
exciting.
planned out. That is cool. That is cool, and that's what I want to see. I want to see him get down into that. I want to see him get down into that garden shaft. I mean, into that tunnel that's below the garden shaft, and then start going that way.
They're all pretty convinced it's a tunnel. So,
yep. Yeah.
Based on the drill program, you have to pretty much guaranteed it's a tunnel because they've chased it all around the money pit. So,
and this has been a long time. I know they've been waiting a long time for this, and I have too, for them to get down inside that tunnel. It's just to me, it's just it's awesome. I can't wait to see. Why is this not changing now? I can't wait to see what they come up with. All right, we are going to now do the giveaway. Let's jump over to that real quick. And before we get to the next segment, over in Halifax, when the guys go to Halifax, let me get my picture back up. Now, what we're doing is we're going to be giving away this book. This is the Jerusalem Files, written by Corjan Mol and Christopher Morford. And this was released on the 13th of February. Christopher and Corjan, if you haven't already heard or seen, they went on a book tour. It's over now, but they're going to be doing another one probably at some point. A book tour again. Jan Anderson, who does our great synopsis for us and puts this out on our Facebook group page as well, actually got to go down and meet them. And I was going to coax her into coming on the show tonight and tell us all about it. Jan got to go down and meet them and get a signed copy of their book, which is awesome. Anyway, to be able to be eligible to get our giveaways that we do, you have to be a member of our Facebook group page. There is a link for it down, and that link is working now, I believe, down in our description of the show here. You are a member of our Facebook group page. Linda will put up the picture as a post. She'll put up a picture of what the next week's giveaway is. All you have to do is do a comment to that post saying yes, and you will be eligible for the spin to get it. And you must be present at the podcast to get it. If we give you about a minute to say you're here, and if we don't hear from you, we'll spin again. All right. It's a great book. I'm really loving this thing. Right.
Of our favorite Jans got to go meet Corjan and Christopher. Jan Scorza went on Friday night.
Oh, really?
And got a bunch of great pictures that Chris and Corjan have used.
Wow.
As part of their Instagram and on their webpage. Yeah.
That's really cool.
Fun for both of them.
Man, oh man. Yeah, good stuff. All right, are you ready to do the spin?
I am ready. Are we ready to go?
Yeah, we got you in solo layout there. You can spin away.
Okay.
See who the lucky winner is. Nope, up just a little bit.
A little higher.
A little higher, a little higher. Charles Sharpless. Charles, are you there? Let us know if you're here in the chat, Charles. And we'll get your details and we'll get that over to you. So let us know if you're here. We'll give them a little bit of time to say hi. We know we got a little bit of a delay, generally. Let's see. Nothing yet.
No, nothing yet. I'm just going back through to see if he's.
Yeah, I haven't seen your name pop up.
No. So many names going by, I could miss it in a heartbeat.
Brandtech?
No clue.
No, I don't know. That's not Charles Sharpless.
Yeah, Frantech said I'm here, but
Charles is here.
Charles is here.
Fran Tech, are you Charles Sharpless?
Under Fran, huh? Yes, it is.
Under Fran Techman.
Okay.
Okay. I'm okay. Fran Tech
all
says
right,
is.
cool.
Yes,
okay.
it is.
All right. All right.
Fran Tech says yes.
Congrats.
All right. Linda, you want to let them know what to do?
Yep. I had to throw somebody out. Sorry. If you will just send me a private message on Facebook, I will get this in the mail to you by Friday. No, wait. This is not my book. Linda Simmons did this. Fran, where are you? You're going to need to give me your address and I'll get it to her. It'll be coming from Canada. Because that's where she is. Okay.
All right. Congratulations. Houston area. All right. Good deal.
All right. So it's going to take a while. Just so you know, it'll take a good 2 weeks to get to you from Canada.
Yep. But I tell you what, definitely worth it. Definitely
Worth the wait.
I'm loving it. I really am. I'm loving this book. And you know, I know I said that already a couple of times, but
I'm anxious to get started. You guys are all done or half done.
I can't believe I beat you. I know, right?
I don't even have the book yet.
Yeah. I like the
I'm not done.
I'm not done.
I like
We'll
the
read
time,
together,
I like
Seth.
the timeline stuff where they go through
There we
the
go.
timeline of everything. This is
Yeah.
Jan Anderson picked up a copy for me and had Chris and Corjan sign it. And then she mailed it to me.
Oh.
So it's not here yet, but it's coming.
And I was going to do that, but then I thought, oh, I'm going to go see him in Virginia. So then I didn't do it. I had her not do it. And then I didn't get to go to Virginia. So now I don't have a signed copy.
Wah, wah, wah.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, things changed. I ended up having to, get out to California. So
Yep.
It was all a good cause. All right. Thank you very much, Linda. Appreciate it.
See y'all.
All right. But yeah, the audiobook version is very good. I was very happy to have that because listening to it, I was able to go through it. I got about halfway through the book, up to chapter 13. And then I got the hard copy came. And then I went back to the beginning and started over again and went through the whole thing. Because I notes like Tom, I've got notes and stickies and
Sticky
all
notes
kinds of
and
stuff in there. Yep.
highlighters and
Yep. Highlighted portions and everything. I write all over the thing. So, all right. Let's see. Oh, I didn't think that was what you wanted. Poor Zane. He's like, what did I do? Oh,
Yeah,
man.
I think Zane got removed from the chat by accident.
Sorry, Zane. Oh, he's probably he's that's it. I'm done with these people. I'm never coming back. And I've got stuff of his I'm going to show here too. I thought, what did he do? Oh, he got tossed out by accident. Well, hopefully he'll come back. Anyway, all right, let's continue on. So, what happens next? The guys go up to Halifax. That's Doug and Scott. They go up to meet Joe Landry. And you guys have seen Joe before.
Familiar
They've
face.
gone out there. Yep, they've gone out there. Mr. Joe Landry, he's the expert when it comes to leather and whatnot. And they took him out the leather boot heel, I guess it was, that Gary and was it Gary and Jack Begley found?
Yes.
Yeah. And this was interesting because they have found leather items before, and they were a lot smaller. They found a boot heel once before, and I wondered, oh, that was over in the money
Yeah.
pit.
That was in the money pit. They came up with a case on, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And this one was found over in the swamp. This was over by the road where they found that beam and all that stuff over by the road, right? Oh, Rick found it.
The bit of parchment that Jack found in the wash, was that the same where he found the other part of leather?
Yes. He found bookbinding and stuff in there. In the that was out of H8, but I forget where the heel was found. The heel was found. Actually, I think Alex Lagina found the heel, or it might have been Michael. Yeah, it might have been. I've forgotten what his name was now. He might have been the one that found that. But there was one over. They had the wash table set up, and they were hitting it with a fire hose and all that stuff. They found a boot heel over there. I thought Alex was involved in that one there too. But this one, they talk about it being hand stitched, of course, which makes it very old.
Yep.
They talked about the fine leather, but you look at this thing and you see that the stitching that goes along here. That's really interesting. I think.
Swamp does a great job of preserving things.
Yes.
Yeah, it does. Nick, my 71. Yeah, I know. Thank you very much, by the way. We really do appreciate that. We waited 11 years for him to knock on the wood and see that it is hollow finally. Yes, I know. Oh, man. I agree 100% with that. Yeah, so, this thing is old. Now, what was the date that he had put to this thing?
Late 1600s to early 1700s.
Yeah.
That's really...
He said it looked French.
Yeah, he said it looked French. He said it could be, they were talking about it. Maybe it's Portugal, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. But
then he said Spanish, and all I could think of when he said Spanish was Marty going, "Don't add anybody else to this mix." There's enough people in on this now. Yeah, Portuguese, French, British, or Spanish.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, we're trying to find Zane. I hope he's not upset. He's probably.
So
guess who's back? Yep.
Oh, there he is. Sorry, Zane. There he is.
So how many of you guys have been in, a pond or swamp and muck and you've lost a shoe? Because I think that's exactly what happened here. He took the wrong step and then pulled his foot out, and that boot wasn't coming back out of the swamp.
Yeah. Yep. And they said, yes, thank you for that. It said it was an officer's. Because of the quality of it, the high quality of it. But yeah, he even said maybe Spanish even. Yeah.
Yeah. That's why they only found one boot.
Yeah. Because he left the other one. One still on, and the other one left in the swamp. He didn't go back after it. So, yeah, interesting. So yeah, an officer it was a boot. Yeah, it's a lot of different places it could have come from. There's a vegetable tan. Yeah. Plus his boot when he went back to the barracks in lot 5. Indeed. Leather, I never heard of that before, using vegetable.
First time I ever
vegetable to tan leather, vegetable tanning. Wow.
I'd heard of that. With doing bookbinding and stuff, I had come across some vegetable tan leather.
You mean bookbinding like one of these?
Yeah, there you go.
What did you tan this with? Did you tan that leather?
No, I did not. I didn't tan that myself. I bought the leather. I didn't learn that whole process, just the bookbinding. So I bought the leather. There's a store here in Texas called Tandy's.
Okay.
Yeah. But
the reason I'm holding that up because Seth made this, folks.
I did.
It's my journal, and he gave this to me as a gift when I first met him. And it's my journal now. So this thing's awesome.
I learned bookbinding from a guy who learned from an actual master bookbinder while he was up in Yale. And but I was his assistant for a little while, and it was something that I kept doing afterwards because it's so fun, getting to reconnect to those old crafts. And you can bind a book with leaves, with tree bark, all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, this is really cool. I really appreciate this. Is like one of the best gifts. Thank you so much. But yeah, I love this thing. All right, so let's see. What else do we got? Oh, next we jump over to the war room. So yeah, so anyway, going back to that boot real quick, that boot heel. So you're talking about the early or late 1600s, early 1700s on that dating. Does that put us? What was the Phipps era again? Was that higher?
Yeah.
Was that more?
Well,
Yeah,
1687
Mm-hmm.
Phipps. So it throws you're in that Phipps Belcher wheelhouse.
Yep. I tell you, and you talk about the multi-generational use of Oak Island. They mentioned it many times this season now, and I think that's right. And I think that, like I said, in this book, the Jerusalem Files, there is some information in there that Corjan and Christopher talk about the multi-generational use of Oak Island in the book, and it lines up with what. So that's where we're headed now, into the war room, and we're going to be talking in here about the Musketeer, Mr. Musketeer right there. That is Christopher Morford, also known as Jacques de Mozzarella, the Musketeer. I say that all the time because when he was on, him and Corjan were on the show one time, and I was doing an interview with him, and that's what he had. He said Christopher Morford and then Jacques de Mozzarella underneath by his name, and I just because they have a restaurant, and you need to go check this out. If you're ever in Hilton Head, go to the Crave Station, in Hilton Head, and you can go to their restaurant. I haven't been there yet. Jan's been there, I believe, right? So, but they have a restaurant there in Hilton Head, so you got to go check it out.
Yeah.
We're going to get, at some point, we'll get Christopher and Corjan on the show again. And I'd love Christopher to come on and explain this a little bit more, because as always, they're probably sitting in the war room for about 5 or 6 hours. And we got to see about maybe 10 minutes of it. There's a picture of Corjan. Now, Corjan was not in the war room, and it wasn't part of this presentation, but you guys know Corjan. He's the author, a co-author of the book. And Corjan has taken them overseas and shown them around. He also was in Liverpool. Went down and looked at some of the carvings on the rocks down there in Liverpool. So I threw his picture up there just because they worked together on much of this. And they were talking about religious artifacts being brought to Oak Island. Now, this picture here is supposedly like a chest or whatever. It's not the Ark of the Covenant because you don't have the cherubim on top, but they supposedly, and again, those guys talk about this in the book, a lot about these religious artifacts and where they went and where they ended up.
I love it when researchers of of Chris's caliber, just with no second thought, he'll be like the Templars, because I'll speculate wildly and I love to go with the Templars because, like Rick said, it's such a romantic thought. But when someone that has the research abilities and he's a very successful guy in his private life as well with being a Freemason. He's one of the initiated. He knows these things, and for someone like him to just casually say Templars did this, I loved it. I cheered.
Yep, exactly. And he's all in on this.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll know that by reading the book. He talked about the menorah. That's one of the religious artifacts, and how, the menorah, the original menorah, not one of the copies that was made with the curved arms, but the original menorah that looks like the garden menorah laid out in the gardens in Versailles, France.
Mm-hmm.
That menorah, the original one, and where it went. That's what this is all their book talks about, and what they believe made its way to Oak Island. So that's what he was talking about here. And he was using Nolan's cross. Now, you've heard me say many times about how I feel about Nolan's cross, and the fact that it was not just put there for the heck of it, that Nolan's cross was put there for a purpose. It was too much effort to not just, and that's exactly what Christopher was saying while he was there. They didn't just make it for the fun of it. This was made for a purpose. And his plan for this, or his research, tells him that it was made to show you where the original money pit treasure chamber was or is. And he was using the alignments of cone C, which is on the beach there at Nolan's property, and cone A. There's just a farther, more distant shot, and there's that alignment right there.
That's amazing, isn't it?
It is. It truly is. But one thing that I had heard them mention, the thing about the drilled stones. Had you heard that before? Them talking about the drilled stones?
I knew there was drilled stones, but I hadn't heard the exact placement.
Yeah. If I had it had lost, I lost my ability to recall that memory, because I thought, oh, are these new? I've never heard of them. I can't imagine that's the only alignment either that Christopher showed them. I think this is just the one that we got to see on this episode, because there's got to be more than, obviously this cross is telling us more than just the money pit. There's got to be multiple.
You're not going to build that great big cross just to line up 4 stones.
Yeah.
I was thinking the same thing.
Yep, exactly. So, excuse me, I'm still fighting the stern. So you take this and you follow this alignment here, this line that he did, and I was amazed when they started talking about the drilled stones, and then you heard Steve Guptill pop in and pipe up and say, "Yep, yeah, those drilled stones are laid out there, and we've got the coordinates of them." And so they went on a walk and started to look at these things. But let's see.
See, yeah, this is where I felt like I was like, getting to partake in a Goonies type treasure hunt. You've got the map. We're going to find the drilled stones and follow the site.
Yep, exactly. Now, this is where Zane come in a little bit. They showed this picture on the show last night, and they talked about the original drilled stones. There was the 2 over on Nolan's property by cone on each side of cone A, which is the very top of the Nolan's cross cone. And then they talked about one that was in the money pit originally, and they said it had been moved. It was taken out of there and moved out. But fortunately, they did have the coordinates of where it was before they moved it. And so I got a hold of Zane and I said, "Hey, any chance you could hurry up and make a little map overlay for me?" Because I was curious. Now on this, you can see clearly here that we have 2 landmarks that we want to find right away, and that is the chapel shaft and the head shaft. Now you see the drilled stone or drilled rock, it says here, right there. Okay. So if we've got these 2, the head shaft and the chapel shaft, then we can use that to get information about exactly where that lines up in the money pit. I can get my picture to roll to the next one. All right, now I made this one, but Zane's got a much better one. This is the one that I made, and I did an overlay using the grid. And you've got the chapel shaft and the head shafts right here. And then you've got the garden shaft up here, which is shaft 12. They've called it shaft 12 a little bit. And then look right here. This right here circle, folks, is the baby blob.
Yep.
And
that's where the drilled hole was.
And that's where, according to this map. Now, this is where I get into a little bit of a I don't want to argue or get into this against Steve Guptill because I don't have his tools. Steve Guptill has coordinates, and he knows where these coordinates are. And I'm sure he's way better at this than I am, because this isn't where he said it was. So I don't know. I wish we could get Steve to come on and talk about this, but I don't think that's going to happen for us. But I'm showing it when we did this overlay. It's going right there, and that's the baby blob, folks. Okay, that's the baby blob. So I get really excited about this. And then go ahead.
I was just on before it's on the overlay on the far. I guess when I look at it, it's on the far right of the map. There was that the cave-in pit. I was going to ask what is that pinwheel looking thing, but
that's the cave-in.
Zane answered that for me. Cave-in pit. Okay.
Yeah, that's the cave-in pit right there. And then you get back over here, and I got a better one of this too. But here's over here in our grid area. And I'm going to go to the next picture because it's a little bit easier to look at. Now, Zane was starting to get me a little, going over my head with some information talking about the 1 degree 9 minutes north or.
Oh, right. Yeah.
he works with that kind of stuff, and it kind of, and so does Michael over at Dot to Dot. He does that kind of stuff too. They're real good with that. But let me go to the next picture real quick, and this one makes it a little bit easier to look at. Zane did the same thing that I did. Okay. See you later, Davey. Davey Crockett said he's got to go. All right. This one makes it a little bit easier to look at. So this one right here is this is the drilled stone right here, and Zane shows it the same place I did in the baby blob. And that's you see the lines coming down here and going off this way. That's on that old survey.
Mm-hmm.
And we lined it up using the head and shaft and the chapel shaft.
Yeah, and keep in mind too that depending on when that original diagram was drawn, if whoever drew up the alignment of those two shafts, if they were only shifted this way a few degrees, you're going to be right back over the garden shaft again.
Exactly. And so we're going, like I said, Zane and I,
Yep.
and we're working with an old survey map,
Mm-hmm.
and we're working with what we see from the show on the grid laid over the money pit as it is today, the grid work that Steve and all them are working with.
Yep.
So, but I just thought using this one here, I thought it was very interesting to see how it comes out over the baby blob, where is exactly where they keep saying is the highest concentration of gold and silver in the water.
Yep.
Samples that they've taken.
Yeah, I see Zig says there 1 degree makes a huge difference. That's what I'm saying. It was just off just a hair either way, and that's going to shift it several feet. So
Yep. So I just thought that was really interesting to point out. Now and here's the garden shaft. That's what this mark right here is. There's your garden shaft right there. So fantastic stuff. I mean, I just they need to dig the baby blob. I know they need to put a caisson down in it. Actually, I'm kind of getting against the whole caisson thing because they're so very destructive.
how deep was the baby blob? Anybody remember?
Anybody remember out there? I thought it was like 100. I thought it was over 100 feet.
120.
Yeah, I thought
their target depth in that whole area is between the 80 to 120 feet range, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everybody remember exactly? I think it was about 180 feet or 120 feet. Sorry.
20.
Yep.
I know everybody criticizes is it Dunfield or Dunfield, but I feel like we need another type of pit almost like, I don't know if cofferdam's the right word, but around the whole money. Haven't they discussed that before? Just dig up the whole money pit.
Big dig.
It all
freeze,
up.
yeah, the big freeze. Or
Big dig,
yep.
Yep. Yeah, they did the honeycomb pattern that was talked about by Irving.
Right.
And then they had the freeze method where they put down all those pipes around and then they froze the ground. But you have to keep pumping that stuff in there all the time. Frozen. And then you dig out the center that's from it, and it keeps the water from coming in. It keeps the dirt from collapsing and everything else. So whichever method, you can imagine how expensive it would be, and it would probably take all summer. But I mean, truly,
you'd be. I don't know how long it'd take you just to set up the cooling system.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, they'd have to start early. Yeah.
And how deep you go?
Maybe even
the big significant item that they found was down 180 feet or something like that.
Yeah. The high density anomaly. Yeah, that's about 180 feet down.
Yeah.
Yeah, no more cans, just eyes and boots now. Yeah, I like that, Dean. Zane, we're gonna have to have a little special episode at some point and have Zane on because he's been working on some other maps for us. I kind of got him started on all this stuff a while back, and now he's just taking off with it. But he's got some 3D models looking in the ground, showing the chapel shaft, the head and shaft, garden shaft and how they come down, and then where these anomalies that they're picked up by the muon and all that are underground. Really cool stuff. So at some point we're going to have him on, and then we'll go over all this at some point. It's really interesting. I just love that kind of stuff because I'm a visual person. I need to see it, to really get an orientation of where things are. This is the alignment, and again, this is drawn, using it's not an exact science, but it does show that line running across.
An illustration, yeah.
It's an illustration. Thank you. It does show that line running across the garden shaft and not the baby blob. And then we also had, there's a look at the cone. That's the cone C, the one that's in the water there. I mean, look at the size of that. You'd see that from the water. I mean, from a boat, passing by pretty easily. I got this picture in the wrong place. I might as well show it real quick while I have it. Remember, I was talking about the anchor, the stone in the swamp and being the anchor. That stone is right about here in the swamp. And that green circle right here is where Zena's map says the anchor is. That's why I'm calling it the anchor, because it lines up with what's on Zena's map. And somebody had mentioned that earlier, that Zena's map is, we get more and more. Yeah, it did get fuzzy. Yeah. But we're getting more and more stuff validating this map. Even if somebody made it up, they've got discoveries that have been made after that nobody would have known about.
Right.
Back when they made this map up.
Yeah.
Because things have been uncovered since then. So
it's got more going for it now than it does against it.
Exactly. Thank you. I think you're exactly right. Yeah, like Coach said, close enough. I think it is, because you're talking about, and I still think Zena's map is a hand-drawn map somebody made by looking or remembering the original map that they did. They kind of drew it out real quick. And yes, they did a copy of it. I don't think it was the original one that they were working with. They were looking at it or had remembered it. But there it is right there, the anchors right here, and it's pointing to two of them, one on the north and one on the south. So I still I'm still holding out that Zena's map is real. All right. So here's just Nolan's cross showing the different cones that are laid out on the ground there. And there's another one. This one is cone A, I believe. I had a picture of it there. This is cone A. It's right next to the little road. That there's another shot of them walking up to it, getting ready to do the survey. This is when they were walking through and they started at cone C, following that line that Christopher Morford said. They're following it, and then the drilled stones and marking them again, even though Steve Guptill had already done it once before. There's a picture of one of this, an old picture of one of the drilled stones. And there's one right there. They're marking. Interesting point that he made about that. Go ahead.
I was just going to ask, when they were doing this, my thought was, they had the benefit of knowing the direction of the money pit. So, Christopher said from the stone in the water, you would be able to see the next one. And I guess that is what just gave them their heading. So from there, they would know to keep going in that direction. Because I was wondering, how do they... Maybe would there be other clues too that would help them look to find the next spot? Is it always a straight line? What if it kind of shifts around?
Yeah, I don't know. If you could see the cone, if you're at cone C, and if you could see cone A, even in the woods, which I think would be hard, but if you could see it, then
from there you just know, keep going that way.
You start walking that way, and then you would see that drilled stone on the ground, hopefully. If it wasn't overgrown by, the forest bed.
Yeah.
But then again, I don't know how many trees were on it then. Did they clear all the trees off to get the it's hard to say.
Yeah. I was hoping, I'd love to go look at those rocks and get a LiDAR scan of it with Pete Kelsey. See if there's
I know, right? That would be great. I don't think that you'd be able to I'm really questioning whether you'd be able to see it, because I know when we were in the boat, and anybody else that's taken Tony Sampson's Salty Dog Sea Tours, which is a must do if you're in that area, by the way, you can't see Cone A right from the water. I don't think, not now. There's too many trees in the way, and it's right next to the road. Let's see if I can go back one or two. Oh, there's the water. Maybe you could, but that's Nolan's. That's Nolan's. Where his dock is right down. You can see the cut grass over here behind them. So maybe if you were over,
the other thing too is you would, if these people were such great navigators and they could navigate all the way to Oak Island to find that stone on the shore, they could very easily have the coordinates or directions to go based on that, go on a certain angle or whatever.
Right. Yeah, maybe there's even like they know once they find the stone, like you said, they know there's a very particular direction, or maybe it's aligned with a constellation, even kind of showing them. Look for the next stone this way.
Yeah, but somehow no, you're right. No, that's exactly the point. So they follow these things along, and Steve had said at this one here, excuse me. Steve had said when they were at this one here that it was almost exactly halfway from Cone C to the money pit. Now, first they kind of said exactly, and then he said almost exactly halfway. But so now you go, okay, so let's say you got halfway, and now let's go halfway the other direction, and that takes you to the money pit. And he put that marker down right there at the northwest corner of the garden shaft, which for sure. Now we know that directly below that is the tunnel that runs underneath the garden shaft. So even if it isn't the baby blob, I'm thinking hitting it there is close enough, because if you can get into that tunnel, you're going to be going towards the baby blob or the other way towards Smith's Cove, providing that the tunnel doesn't turn or something at some point. But
finding that, just to back up, finding that drilled stone, the little flat one there that they were just looking at there in the woods, I mean, that was forested land. You're going to have to know where to walk to find that. That's going to be covered with leaves and debris and everything else, right? It sits there for years and years and years.
Yeah, that halfway one is not as impressive as the first.
No. But if you look at that stone, what else do you notice about that stone?
Square.
Besides the fact that it has a hole in it. Yeah. Look at this edge right here.
Yeah.
Very square edge on it. So that's going to make it stand out to me anyway. I'm going to.
Oh, yeah. If you knew where to find it. But I'm saying is in try and find that in the fall in a hardwood forest. It's going to be covered. It's going to be buried.
Yeah, exactly. So you'd almost have to be looking at if you know.
You're certainly not going to find it in the wintertime.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Somebody said it's flat like the 90-foot stone. Another candidate for it. Yeah, you're right. So, yeah, interesting.
It's another one of those things you have to know where to go. Yeah.
You have to know. Yeah, you got to know. And they probably did. I mean,
I don't doubt that they would have had instructions. When you find this at the shore, then your bearing is this whatever.
God, there's so many things I want to say right now that are in this book. But I'm not going to do it because I don't want to spoil it for anybody who hasn't read it yet. But when you read that book, you'll know, and then you go, oh, that's what Jeff was having such a hard time not talking about. Many things, actually. No spoilers, I know, Zane. I won't do any spoilers. There's so much in there, dude. I'm telling you, so much in there. So anyway, so he comes out and I mean, like I said, even if you're at this point, which I thought was really, really cool to be directly over the tunnel that's running underneath the garden shaft, or if you're hitting the baby blob, which is where all the gold and silver content is coming from, the bulk of it. Either way, it's still very significant. And there's I jumped back a little bit and got that picture there. Because that kind of shows you where in the garden shaft caged area there that they're actually standing. So it is in that northwest corner. every time they show that, picture of the garden shaft and the baby blob, and they show the yellow line running underneath it, that's exactly right on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then there you go. Rick going, well, there you have it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Next time on The Curse of Oak Island. This was some interesting things. Oh, one thing I wanted to say too, real quick. Rick had said something about, I do anyway. I say a lot of times on here, I talk about the fact that no matter whether cameras were there or not, that Rick Lagina would keep on going to get the answers of the who, why, when, what, and how of this treasure mystery. And one of the things he said there was research is a huge component to figure out what happened here. And that's exactly, I mean, he said that during the show, and I couldn't agree more.
Mm-hmm.
He's very dedicated to that. That's why he has Corjan and Christopher and Gretchen Cornwall and, all these folks that are working on this research and Judy and all these people that are working, helping him to get these answers that he needs, because you're not going to solve this mystery. Okay, let's say you go down in the money pit and you find a chest full of gold coins. Is that chest full of gold coins going to tell you exactly who put it there? Maybe, maybe not. My thinking is probably not. So you still need to get that research.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm thinking. But so I thought that was a really good quote. I'm really glad, to again hear him make that comment on the show there. So next time, now this is that little piece where somebody came up and said, there's more stumps coming out of the swamp again. I mean, were they just float? Did they just push them in there, or were they actually ripping them up out of the ground? I don't know. But more stuff. Oh, I had to save this picture. I would love to spend an hour with Gary Drayton.
I think you can. I think he's got a website, and I think you can make that happen in Florida for a fee. I've looked it up before because I thought, well, if I'm ever in Florida, that'd be a bucket list little thing to knock off my list of lifetime achievements to metal detecting.
What did they find that put this look on their faces?
Top pocket find, perhaps?
Another top pocket find that we're going to find out next week. I just had to grab this picture because that is so awesome.
I hope this is one that he hasn't found before. Like when he found the gun and he was so excited, where he's like, "Yes, I've always wanted to find one of these."
Well, didn't he say? I couldn't quite make it. Didn't he? I thought he said it's got a pattern or something.
It's got a pattern.
Yeah.
So does that make it a coin?
It's going to make it a coin or a button that's identifiable.
Or another lead bag seal or something like that.
Yep.
One of those types of things, maybe.
Yep.
But you see, it's flat in his hand, whatever it is, and I can't wait to find out because they're pretty excited about this thing. So I'm excited. Oh, the picture of the lightning! I just thought that the storm is coming. We did see evidence of that. They had another hurricane went through there last year, right? Is that?
We had two come up along the coast last summer. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember about when that was? Because I don't.
I'd have to go back and look.
Yeah. One of the things that was said on here was that one of the guys that was doing the research, he said, that they talked to next week. He had said, I think I wrote this down. He said the money pit samples are the most interesting samples that we have. Southeast France, dated 1200 on logs. So what do you think he was talking about? I know, end of September. Okay, thanks.
Where did the lead come from? From the lead cross? No, Southeast France, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. So they found something in the mortar. April saying the mortar. They did do a sample of it. 1200 boom Nolan's cross. The cement.
I think they pulled some dirt out of the tunnel or something, maybe. I don't know.
Something.
But would that make sense?
Or a piece of the wood that remember when Rick was down there and he was scraping away, and he pulled up. He goes, "Oh, there's some wood right here," and he pulled it up in his hand. Did he put that in his pocket to go get it tested? Yeah, identical to the money pit. So I'm interested to see exactly what this is. There's been talk about, I think they're getting more and more September 16th to Lee. Okay, thank you. Oh, Judy, thank you very much.
Yeah, it was Lee, and then Fiona was before that, I think.
What's that? I'm sorry.
I think it was Hurricane Fiona before that, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Jimmy Hoffa? Yeah, I don't think it was Jimmy Hoffa from the 1200s, but possibly, I guess. But yeah, so remember all the talk about that there was a ship shape anomaly in the swamp, and we're still working with Jeremy Church to have him come on the show and talk about that a little bit too, by the way. But the ship shape anomaly in the swamp, and then there really hasn't been solid evidence yet to say that there was a ship truly found in the swamp yet.
No.
We found lots of pieces of wood that simply could have floated in or been blown in by a storm or whatever. They can't significantly say that it was part of a ship that was in the swamp. But then there's been talk about if they did have a ship that they dismantled or caught on fire, and they would use some of the wood from it in the building of the tunnels under it for the chamber, to put the treasure in. And I'm hoping, I know this is a huge stretch, but I'm hoping that maybe that they're talking about it has something to do with wood from a ship that they found down in there or something. I don't know. Sure looks like it. I know. We'll find out, I guess. What'd you guys think? A good episode?
Good episode.
Fantastic, yeah.
It almost looks like, besides these little tidbits, the next week's episode might be not as thrilling as this one was. But
hard to say. I mean,
hard to say.
They're obviously going to dedicate some time to the storm, the hurricane.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that'll definitely be part of it. And then whatever this is, this researcher that's talking to whoever that is, to what they found that goes back to those dates, and is the samples from the money pit. Samples from the money. Most interesting samples that we have, Southeast France. So, yeah. So
as long as someone didn't do one of their little voice clip cut up things.
I know. I hate that. They do that too often.
Sound bites.
Yeah, they cut it up. They did that same thing with Rick when he said talking about the stone, the cone, or the boulder that was found in the swamp, and said it was part of the Nolan's cross. No, that's not what he said. In the show, he said it's a rock like the stones from Nolan's cross.
Exactly.
But they left that out. So, it's part of making the.
That's what we're here for, though. We straighten it all out.
We straighten it all out for you. Thank you.
Not pulling any of that stuff on us.
That's right. We'll call them on it every single time. All right. Well, thank you, folks, for being here with us tonight. We really appreciate it. Tom and Seth and Linda and Jan, thank you guys so much for all the hard work you do. I appreciate it very much. Zane, thank you for your pictures that you've done. We're going to be working on some stuff.
Hope you enjoyed your time and time out.
Yeah, I hope you enjoyed your time out.
Penalty box.
Yeah, the penalty box. All right. And like I said before, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and give us a thumbs up if you like the content of our show. It really does help us out. We appreciate it very, very much. And those of you who have done the super chat tonight, thank you. I really appreciate it. It helps to make all this possible. All right, folks, we'll catch you next time right here on the J Free 906 podcast. Have a great rest of your week.
Good night. Thanks, Jan.